Hi, team. Welcome back.
Welcome, everyone.
Today we're doing a little mini episode.
Yeah,
We've never done a mini
we've
episode
never done a
before.
quickie.
Well, speak for yourself. We've done one together.
No, let's not. I already have ants that are questioning. Anyways, we were kind of so we've been hammering out content this weekend
We really have.
because Megan's about to go to Europe. I don't know what order
Mhm.
everything's going to come out in too. This one might shuffle. This is the last of the three that we're doing, but it might shuffle in earlier in the rotation. We don't know. We'll see how
We
we're
don't know.
feeling. But we thought it would be a really interesting episode to do kind of like an update on like month one of the last single girl summer,
Mm-hmm.
lessons learned, what's been going on,
Yeah.
what's our vibe been like, what's our current outlook,
Yeah.
how are we feeling?
Love it.
Yeah. So that's what you're getting today from us.
That's what you're getting today. A little taste of how single girl summer's been going, last single girl summer, which it's not all about dating, but we wanted to focus it on dating because
Yeah.
this is something that, like, for both of us, we really wanted to have. I want to say heavy dating summer, which sounds disgusting.
Yeah,
I just meant
gross.
like we wanted to be dating a lot. Like, we really wanted to put ourselves out there.
Yeah, and I think, the definition, driving home from the wedding, I was giving an update to Kel in the car, and I was explaining kind of the changes maybe I've made or different approaches and stuff. And she's like, well, it makes sense because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And I was like, well, yeah, like
We're trying some shit this summer.
we're trying some new stuff. And you know what? Some of it works.
Okay, what's something that you've tried that you were like, I can't believe I'm doing this, but it worked?
So I just feel like I have historically will go on like a date with someone, start talking to them, and I am like, not even without a conversation, I am loyal at that point. Like I'm
Right. Yeah.
blinders
You're
on,
locked in.
only focused on this person, and I've not done that. And I've been dating. It's actually not even month one. It's like first like 6 weeks.
Yeah, first 6 weeks.
From like beginning of May. We're like almost at the end of June now, I guess. Anyways, and I didn't do that, and it's honestly been helpful because when something goes sideways, which with every situation I've had so far in the last 6 weeks, something has gone sideways. It's not my fault because I'm perfect. It's saved me from having too much of a crash out, I would say.
Yeah.
Or taking it all too seriously. And it's interestingly because I've been able to stay in this, well, let's see kind of mindset.
Yeah.
We did have a blip. We had a crash out end of May, I want to say. But things kind of turned around from there in terms of my mentality.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be afraid. Like, until you have a conversation with someone, until you guys are exclusive, you assume that they're talking to multiple people, assume you're talking to multiple people, and like, no harm, no foul.
You don't owe these people anything.
No. And let me tell you, I have been bamboozled many a time in my early stage loyalty by assuming the other person was also loyal. And not once was I correct in that assumption. Not once. And like, yeah, I just think last single girl summer, you date, you explore, you figure out who you like, and maybe, yeah, you go further with different people and see kind of how things progress. And I'm not talking, you talk to like 10 people at the same time. That's absurd. Who has time for that?
I don't even know how I would do that.
No, but like, just don't cut yourself off before you're exclusive with someone, and just keep your options open. I think that is probably the best advice, because most women that I talk to who are single and like our single girlfriends have a tendency to be exclusive or loyal before exclusivity.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I haven't. I think you're right for sure.
For me,
I
it's been
am.
helpful anyways.
No, yeah, I agree. I like still if I like someone a lot, I like really
It's hard.
struggle with that. So I don't know that I've mastered it.
I
But
haven't either, but I'm trying.
I've been on like more dates in the last 6 weeks than I was on for 8 months before the last six
I
weeks.
love it. You've been a machine.
I have been a machine. And
I'm proud of you.
it's been really interesting to be like, I don't know. They always say comparison is the thief of joy, and I
Yeah.
agree with that. But sometimes in dating, it is useful to like compare how you felt, not like
Mm-hmm.
compare humans to
Mm-hmm.
each other. But yeah, the most like substantial dating was I went on several dates with this one guy, and I guess what I took away from that, we ended up okay. There's a couple things I took away from that. One is like, I don't think it was ever going to work because he doesn't know how to text like an adult. I don't care if he hears this.
What is wrong with the male species these days in
Like there
texting?
was just no communication. I felt like I was like it was like pulling teeth like to get him to communicate with me. And then finally he made me end it by being like, what's going on here? And
You
he
sought
was like, yeah,
clarity.
actually I and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to. I was like, you know what? Silence is golden. Silence tells me everything I need to know. And I don't know if this is the way to do it. I think that if you weren't in it as like a friend or and your advice to your friend would probably be like, you know what? He hasn't texted you in 4 days. Maybe just leave it. Like that is silence speaks volumes. I can't do that. I I know that's probably like you should do that, but when you're in it, it's so hard to be like, I just want some clarity. I just want some clarity. And I'm not saying there's even a right or a wrong, but I think that if I was looking at it from the outside in, I'd probably be like, nah, you know what? That's everything you need to know.
I think it depends how far along you are with that person.
True.
Because there's someone in
True.
my orbit who, again, yeah, I feel like I tried in different areas, but I'm not now in silence seeking clarity because we haven't
True.
been far enough along for me to do that again.
Yeah.
But you were several dates, several, like, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like a blip.
Yeah. No, it didn't feel that way to me at least.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. So he said to me, like, I've been thinking about it and I just don't think that I'm feeling that like romantic connection. And I was like super butthurt. I was actually on another date when he texted me that, which was really unfortunate because,
That's all I could think
well,
about.
yeah. Um, but okay, so after like a few days of like mulling that over, I actually think, and maybe this isn't even what he meant, and it could have just been a lie, right? Like it could have been
Yeah, I
him just
trust
trying to come up
nothing
with
that comes out of a
something.
man's mouth, but yeah.
But it did lead me to be like, oh, you know what? So, and I said this to Cole. I was like, we have so much fun. We haven't talked about anything deep. Like, we
Mm,
have so much fun, but it's very surface level. And I think that to me, that's where it becomes romantic is like when you are talking about real shit and you're
yeah.
like sharing real stuff. And we never really got there. And so it's interesting because I was like so wrapped up in like, is he going to message me? Where is this going? And then when he told me like he didn't feel that way, everyone was like, "Oh, are you like, how's it going? Are you missing X? Whoever this? I'm not even going to say his name. I'm going to pull up Paige DeSorbo. His name will never
Come
leave
out of
my
my
mouth."
mouth again.
Um, and I was like, to be honest, I mean, he never messaged me. So there's not a lot to miss. Like, it was so fun when we hung out, but I very rarely heard from him.
Yeah.
And no, because it's not like I felt like I was like building a really strong connection. I was just having a ton of fun and it was like that like dopamine rush,
Yeah.
right? So I feel like I learned from that. I feel like I learned that like, yes, I'm cool with it just being like fun and flirty, like for maybe the first date or two, but like I needed to get deeper
Deep.
and I just didn't feel like we could get there.
But it's a
Um,
good, and I'm so excited too because I feel like in the past for both of us that happens, and then we take ourselves out of the game for a few weeks as we recover, and then we get back and you're like, nah, fuck it.
I know. When you lose the momentum.
Momentum is king.
It's tough. It's really tough.
Yeah. And I also think that at the end of the day, yes, silence is golden, but if clarity is going to benefit you, and if living in ambiguity or like a gray zone is not good, be confident enough, like you were, to send the text and like push it to a point of like demanding clarity, because we do not have time over this. It's summer. Summer is meant to be fun. Do you know it's not fun?
Amanda? No,
men who are ambiguous and like all of that stuff.
I think there's two schools of thought on this, isn't there? There's like people who are like, if he wanted to, he would. Or there's like no, you can absolutely demand clarity because you deserve clarity.
Totally.
And I just think I think I would love to be, it's like how I always say, I wish I could be mysterious. I'm not mysterious. I like clarity. I like communication. So I mean, besides the fact that like, yeah, obviously he didn't want to continue seeing me, tear. His texting just drove me insane. And that's another thing I learned. I was like, I need someone who can communicate.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to be that hard. It really doesn't have to be that hard to send the text.
And what an amazing piece of data that you've collected and validated for yourself.
Yeah, agreed.
Now, you just said something that's super interesting to me. If he wanted to, he would, which I have always existed into the frame of mind of, yeah, if he wanted to, he would. And I think I mentioned this in the pod a few weeks ago after my crash out, where I had my friend Kasha, basically, she listened to me. She was very validating, but she was like, listen, I know you want to be pursued. I know that you want all these things, but the reality is the type of guy you're actually willing to date. There's not many of them out there. That maybe early stages, you need to put yourself out there a little bit more, be more visible, be more initiating in some instances, because they're probably also getting a million messages. And like, how do you kind of set yourself apart? And I took that advice and I've used it twice now. And it works. Either way, either you're going to figure out real quick that someone's not for you.
Yeah.
Or you don't know kind of what's going sideways with someone or what's going on in their head or where they're thinking or, you know, whatever as to why they're not messaging you or pursuing you. And then you're actually able to push things forward. And I have a front runner right now who this happened with, and things have post all of this been able to progress in like a really nice way.
Yeah.
And it's, I just think that sometimes I hate saying this, but it's so true. Sometimes you kind of just have to put your dick on the table.
Yeah.
And send the text. And you're going to figure out real quick, is this person reciprocating and matching my energy, or are they not? And it's like, cool, you're not. Bye-bye.
Yeah. I think you're totally right. And I think too, we want things to be exactly the way we want them. And what's the quote? It's like, no one's ever going to love you exactly the way you want. And obviously when you're
tell them.
Well, and when you're first dating someone, they don't love you.
They don't know.
So like, that's the complication there. But I do think that I am trying to be a lot more open to like not being treated poorly, but to who I'm going on dates with. And I don't know, even like what people do for work, like that's bad to say, but like maybe in the past I like wanted someone who specifically, I don't know, did something similar to me. And I'm like, why does that matter? Like, no. I'm just going to like be more open. That's one example, but like just being more open to who I'm going on dates with. The other thing that I've been more open to is like, and I don't know how you'll feel about this. And I don't know how like the world feels about this. so I know we're 36 and I want to date intentionally. I don't know if I really am. I'm like dating for fun right now. Like I'm
But I
like
think that, like,
I'm going on dates with people that like I went on a date with someone on Thursday last week who's moving to Singapore for like a few months. And so on his profile it was like I'm like like looking for a short-term relationship. And I was like, he's cute, he seems funny. I'm going to go on the date. We had nothing in common, but he was really hot. So that was helpful. But like I was like, I'll do it, like for the plot. And like I think that I'm enjoying dating more because of it. It just feels way less high stakes.
well, here's the thing. The whole premise behind Last Single Girl Summer is that
Exactly.
you're meeting your person, I don't know, because you have a crystal ball in the fall, right?
Yeah.
So, how do you want to spend your summer? And it's not just about dating, but I think both of us, regardless, wanted to be intentional about prioritizing dating. But that doesn't mean you necessarily have to be intentional with every first date you go on that you're dating. Like, I think for both of us, and you and I have had this conversation before, even for you especially, you've said, like, I'm not actually going on that many dates. I want to just go on dates and
Yeah.
like collect information and have experiences and all these things. And I think that is being intentional. That doesn't mean
You're right.
just because
Yeah.
you're not dating to like find your husband on a first date doesn't mean that you're not
Yeah.
being intentional with dating, because you are collecting information and trying to figure out, do I like this person? Do I not like this person? Is this type of person for me? You know, you're going outside of maybe your normal type and normal parameters, which again, doing the same thing over and over again is like the definition of insanity. Like, it's
Yeah.
go outside your normal, like test different things, figure stuff out. Like, the whole point of summer is to like
Be out there.
be
Summer of
out
outside.
there. So you're
Yeah.
doing everything right, I think.
Thank you. I think what's interesting too is one thing I realized is I, in order to like feel good about dating, I
Yeah.
need to feel like quite confident and good in me. And I feel like I'm in like a good vibe, you know?
Yeah.
And so what's funny is because I really want to date, I'm
Yeah.
like prioritizing feeling in a good vibe, which is like, it's so interesting, right? It's like, which comes first? But I'm like, oh, I want to date. So I need to prioritize feeling good about myself, which means like working out, like doing the shit at work that I know I need to do,
Having a full
like being
life.
productive, having a full life. It's like a very interesting, like, cart before the horse. Is that the saying of like, am I putting the cart before the horse? But it's working for me.
I think that's great. Like,
Yeah.
you have to, this is part of this summer is, oh my God, is figuring out what your dating rules need to be, because what might work for me, Meg, might not work for you, and might not work for our other listener, and might not
Yeah.
work for the other. Like, dating is so subjective that you have to find a way to make it work for you. And I think for the last however many years, I thought I had to adhere to a certain type of way to date. And I wouldn't necessarily put parameters around it to control myself, like little safety guardrails to balance myself out. I just went fucking head first, got a few concussions along the way in some of my dating experiences. And I just feel like you got to make your own rules up as you go to figure out what works for you. And part of that, you're not going to figure out until you go on dates. Like,
Yeah.
I've realized this summer, and one thing that has been super helpful, I don't go on more than one date with the same person. It like in less than like multiple times a week. I just had a stroke as I was speaking. But like in the past, I would meet someone and then 3 days later we go on a date, and then 2 days later we go on a date. And it was like within 2 weeks, I've seen this person like 5 times.
And you're
That's
like
insane.
in lust. Yeah.
I have been seeing people like once a week, basically, give or take a day here and there. And I'm not texting them every day. Frequency is progressing with people as things are progressing along, but it's still not every day.
Yeah. No, and I think that's good. I don't think you need to be texting someone every day. And I want to make that clear. This person I was talking to, we're not talking like, I need to hear from him. How was your morning coffee? Like we're talking just like basic check-ins.
But
I just on the whole, I just want on your point about we all think we need to follow the same rules. I think that there's such a stressful line there because all of the dating advice on TikTok, on Instagram, like everyone's sharing like things that worked for them and like the way that they think that women should date. And the problem with that is like, I think it's good to be sharing it, but then you think that there's a right way.
but think about this like you would in marketing, right? Test, learn, adjust.
Yeah.
Right? And when you're dating with the purpose to date and figure out what you like and eventually find your person, but you're not being like, I'm going on this first date tonight because this man could be my husband. That's a lot of pressure. And I say that as someone who has done that before. Like you're testing things out, you're learning as you go. You're like, oh, actually, you know what? I don't like doing this on a first date. Or, oh, actually, this is not the kind of person that's right for me. Or, oh, if I don't know this about someone before we go out on first date, it's probably not going to work. That's a really good qualifier for me or something.
Yeah.
Or, oh, I should jump on a FaceTime with them before we go out to make sure if there's even a vibe. Like you have to figure out what works for you and then adjust. That's what Last Single Girl Summer is all about.
We're doing it.
We're doing it. I also think I had a point around not text every day. There was someone I was talking to. And again, I say this in past tense because it's basically past for me right now. I put myself out there a few times, didn't work. But again, this other guy I'm talking to that's come up, like he came back from the dead like twice over the last 6 weeks, basically for me. So we're surprised by nothing. We expect nothing, but we're surprised by nothing at this point either.
Yeah.
But where I might have previously been impressed by someone because of their credentials or like who they are on paper and how great they are and kind of like those check boxes, talking to multiple people has allowed me to take a step back from that list of being like how great they are on paper and even how great they are when I'm in front of them to be like, wait, I'm actually not getting what I need here to progress. I don't feel necessarily this is reciprocal or, I don't feel XYZ or this isn't working for me because of A, B, and C reason. I find that the approach I've taken to dating this summer has allowed me to kind of move past who someone is on like that kind of
judging them against a checklist.
100%. And instead it's opened me up to look at different people to be like, actually, wait, you're maybe not based on like checklists, what I would normally go for, but you're hitting all these other boxes that are super important to me that I've never maybe had hit before.
Yeah. No, I feel the exact same way.
So just like you don't know until you know. And also the thing about the approach thus far, we could do an update in July and I could be depressed. We don't know where we're going with it.
We don't.
But that's part of the joy. I don't feel like I'm forcing anything. I don't feel like I'm pushing for anything. I don't feel like I'm trying to make something happen. I'm engaged. I'm involved. But what will be, will be. Have you ever known me in the history of our knowing for me to be like that?
No, I think that's growth, man. What Nicole's feeling like calm, zen. I'm about to embark on a Euro trip.
Yeah, you are.
I'm going to go see a boy. I'm going to go to a wedding in Ireland where all of my favorite men have come from.
Hot.
Yeah, I'm about to be like I'm going to be frolicking around in search of makeouts. So
but I
hopefully
feel
I'll
like
come back with stories.
Yeah, and like again, if things change and we have a different attitude next month, that's part of the ups and the downs and the going with the flow of Last Single Girl Summer. But you take it all in stride.
Yeah,
that's the vibe. That's the lesson here. I really hope next month it's still a good update, and I'm not like I'm about to jump off my balcony.
We will keep you guys posted as much as we can every step of the way. We love you.
Yeah.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.